Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I've been offline for quite some time. October was such a crazy month. It was one of the hardest months I've had in a long time. And it seems like with everything going on, people kind of had it a little rough through the Mars retrograde through October and part of November, and with the election and all this stuff that's happening in the world. It's not an easy time, especially with things like COVID spikes happening again across the world. I have just not really been inspired lately. Some of that is when you are operating in survival mode, a lot of that creative energy starts to diminish because you're so worried about certain things like paying your bills, or the rent and keeping the job or finding a new job and all those things like that. So I was moving and I was pretty much like in survival mode. There was just so many like hiccups that happened in that process, and I just have been so overwhelmed with the online world, because I kind of feel um, like that. I feel like I don't know what the truth is anymore, besides the one fact that everything happens in its own divine order and timings. With the acceptance of that, and just being offline more has drastically boosted the mental state in a more positive way. Um, Today is November 23rd as I'm doing this video, and there was an article floating around that stated that Qantas is going to require, your vaccination proof for the opportunity to travel internationally on their airlines. And so, a lot of this moment of thinking and self reflection and going back through like the rabbit hole of understanding so many spiritual and logical theories, it's been frightening but maddening that some of this could be the start to the end of the life that we once knew, that was drastically taken like this. I mean, that's what a car crash is. One moment the soul is alive, the next this unexpected chaotic event happens, and um, life is over. And to some degree, it's almost like we have a spiritual death that is happening. I've had spiritual people in Seattle that's talked for a long time that they say some dark energy or like Kali energy has been floating around Seattle for the last few years. A lot of that, they say that because of the tech industry, but a lot of it, they still don't understand that it's politics and or this system that's been infiltrated by people that is trying to destroy and restart our entire civilization of what we've known. So the whole thing with Qantas requiring that is, people think that critical thinkers or people who have one mild ounce of skepticism against pharmaceuticals or the government, or says some stuff against the Democratic Party, are just conspiracy theorists, because that's what we've been trained to do. We've been trained to be automated. So they hear this on the mainstream news and then they regurgitate that information. Um, Anyone who's conservative is a right-wing person. It's where I'm going with this is that it's just the start of a new world, that you will have to inject yourself with some form of vaccination and comply to what other people are telling you to do with your body or you ingest. And why I'm doing this video now, it's 4 minutes in, I need to get to the point, is that the purpose or inspiration behind this video is to be thankful for everything that you had. Now, if there's any time than ever, is to bust out those gratitude lists and things like that. I work with seniors. I work in a retirement home. I'm not allowed to go on a vacation, really. It's not getting approved. My life is completely altered. I see some people that are, traveling in Europe right now, are posting pictures of Scotland, and I just like run through all these memories in my head of what it was like traveling in Europe or living abroad in Australia or India and in Europe. And I'm thinking, this is so far long gone in the memory book of my brain that it feels like I'm thinking about a fairy tale that no longer exists. And part of the reason why I'm getting emotional is because that freedom of choice, that freedom of health is like society is drastically going down the tubes. And so I really think all empires have fallen, and this great pampered life that we've had in America is drastically going down the tubes. And a lot of it is because of the social engineering from the corporations who want corporate conformity, from the political agendas, from all this other crap, the media and everything, the dumbing down of society by promoting movies of, like, oh God, what is that called? The Will Ferrell movie where they move into a frat. Oh, Old School. It's stuff like that. It's the breeding of the adult child. We are now seeing the drastic effects of what television, video games, social media, the internet, the dark web, all that is doing to people. And it's building more psychopathy. And even the whole stuff with coronavirus and everything, the social distancing, the masks, all of it works to prevent disease, but is being used to guide us into a new civilization. And the more detached you get, that is like the root symptom of a narcissist and a psychopath, is that they have a high level of detachment, and they are so freaking self-centered that all they can think about them are their emotions and their own feelings, and they will do anything in the way to harm others. And the more detached we become from the human existence, from the warmth, humans gravitate toward warmth. You see somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, and what do? You want to run up and hug them. So my quick rebirth of coming back online is to inspire you to be thankful for everything that you had, because it can be gone in a moment. And those are lessons that I learned a few years ago from going through a divorce. One moment I'm married, I had no clue that when I got home from work that day that my entire reality was about to shift and change. And we have billionaires running everything, the planet, the big pharma, the Monsanto. It's like these people are trying to guide us to a new artificial way of living, and that's the opposite of everything that we've ever known for the last however long. And so, obviously be thankful for your health. If you are slightly healthy this year, coronavirus has shown us that if you have one to two or more illnesses in your body, you are more susceptible to other illnesses. And people who have been chronically dying of coronavirus have had another issue in their body, either a chronic disease, an autoimmune disorder. It's like this has been the biggest wake-up call on so many levels of, one, being controlled, two, suppression, three, the destruction of our health. I started to awaken a lot of things in 2015 when I lived in Europe, and I saw, the European culture just completely shift and change overnight. But I started doing a lot of research, and then I saw, as Obama signed the Monsanto Protection Act, and while I was in Germany, Bayer merged with Monsanto, and I knew somebody who was working for Bayer at the time who was part of the same fellowship. He left the fellowship to go work for Bayer. I think it's Bayer. I say Bayer. Bayer, the pharmaceutical company. And the funny thing is, right as that merge happened, Monsanto cut his contract, and he had to go back to America. He lost his job because Monsanto said, "We do not fund cancer research." This guy was hired by Bayer to do cancer research, basically, to understand. And one thing I learned from him was that he said if there's 60,000 cases of lung cancer, that means there's 60,000 different types of lung cancer. There's not one type. So it's fascinating when you start to understand disease on a deeper level, because it almost takes some of the accountability back to us, like what's going on with us mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically at the time that these things happen. And a lot of issues and diseases come at times when we are spiritually weak and spiritually broken. And now, as we have this extremely divided country, I want to be optimistic and think things are going to go in the right way, but it's just history repeats itself. History is a cycling circle of good and bad times, of light being in office and then dark being in office. It's just a revolving door. So I hope that this Thanksgiving you could look back at your life and not have any regrets of what you've done or what you haven't done, or people who are chronic procrastinators can look at their life and realize, I need to start living now before it's too late. I don't think societal things or destruction will happen overnight, but I don't know if we will recognize America in 10 years. I really don't. And you have all these brilliant and amazing artists. We are such a culture that listens to Hollywood stars and artists, and superstars can get things mainstream when nobody wants to listen to their parent or their sibling or their priest or their doctor or whatever. But like Gwyneth Paltrow says, and all of a sudden everybody believes that that's just like the reality that we live in this country. And some of these amazing artists have warned us long, long time ago. Bob Marley has a few songs. That song about Can You Hear Me Running, the old 80s pop song that has, read into the lyrics of Hotel California and all these things. They've given us all these warnings, and now we're seeing the ramifications and effects. And like, I live in Seattle, we're shut down again. We're back to phase one. Everything was going up and up and up, and now we're back down in the crummy shithole because we're restricted. We have no freedom of work. Businesses have had to close down. And so at least living right now is like, I'm seeing this control. Working at a retirement home, it's mandatory vaccines. It's this, you have to wear this, you have to wear that. We're just seeing like, God, there's like our physical freedom is getting lost. And so for me, I've been reflecting on everything that I've been I'm so thankful I saw the world. Like, if I went to Norway, I've always wanted to go to Norway. I don't know how they're operating in Norway right now, but if they're operating the same scale as America with everything shut down and everyone, having to wear masks and be 6 feet apart, it kind of doesn't really, give you an insight to a culture. And so that would be my thought for this Thanksgiving, is being thankful for everything that you've ever had, because I really think unless people have done extensive travel or work in some areas of like social work, that you understand where pain and struggling and being broken, where people come from. But I think we've lived in such a consumptive, pampered culture for so long. I think we've been so disconnected to what it's like to suffer. And who knows what the future has. All you can do is just continue your spiritual and personal growth, having trust in God, and praying, meditating, whatever you do, and just hope things progress, but not be so naive along the way to think that it will never happen. Like, bad things can only happen in the history book. Yeah, so I hope all is well. It's kind of a depressing video to come back to, but I really hope this Thanksgiving, a gratitude list, even a mental gratitude list of what you have and what you've been thankful for, or have had in the past, I think is something to be very thankful for. Because right now there are so many people who don't even have a job. They don't know how they're going to pay their rent or their bills. And with the increase of the global shutdown, you have communities who thrive off of tourism are now suffering in more poverty because there's been no tourists and no travelers coming. So hotels, the food industry, everything. My former boss, her mother works at a hotel in Guam, and they were all laid off because no one's traveling to Guam. It's just a sad time. And yet there's billionaires like the California governor that can go to his little parties in Napa and all this bullshit and fly to Hawaii. It's just disgusting. It's this whole age of Aquarius is about the people versus the system. Aquarians are about the people. It's power back to the people. It's not a right versus left thing. This is like the system against the people, and anarchism is kind of the dark side of it. So anyways, I could go off a rabbit hole, but I hope everybody is well. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving. I hope you get some good nutritious food this holiday, and be well and be safe, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.